The Vikings came from Scandinavia. This region includes the modern-day countries of Denmark, Norway, and Sweden. It was a land of harsh winters and long summer days. The Vikings were tough and resourceful. They learned to survive in a difficult environment. The Vikings were skilled farmers. They grew crops, like barley and oats. They also raised animals like sheep and cattle. But the land was not always kind. Sometimes, crops failed and people went hungry. The Vikings looked beyond their borders. The sea offered opportunity. It was a way to find new lands and riches. It was the start of the Viking Age, a time of exploration, raiding, and conquest. The Vikings were master shipbuilders. Their longships were marvels of engineering. Long and sleek, they were built for speed and maneuverability. They could navigate rivers and seas with ease. The sight of a Viking longship struck fear into hearts across Europe. The Vikings were fierce warriors. They raided monasteries and coastal settlements. Their attacks were swift and brutal. They sought treasure, slaves, and glory. Some Vikings were not just raiders. They were explorers. They sailed further than any before them. They reached new lands and established settlements. The Vikings were drawn to new horizons. One such horizon was Iceland. This island in the North Atlantic was uninhabited when the Vikings arrived. They established farms and communities, making it their new home. Greenland, even further west, was their next challenge. This icy land was even harsher than Scandinavia. Yet the Vikings persevered, establishing settlements that would last for centuries. The Vikings may have gone even further. There's evidence they reached North America. They landed on the coast of what is now Canada. They were the first Europeans to set foot on this continent. The Vikings had a rich mythology. They believed in powerful gods and goddesses. Odin, the Allfather, was the god of wisdom, war, and death. Thor, the god of thunder, protected them from giants and chaos. Their myths were filled with epic tales, stories of heroes battling monsters, of cunning gods, and of Ragnarok, the end of the world. These stories reflected the Viking worldview, a world of danger, adventure, and the struggle between order and chaos. These myths were more than just stories. They were a way of life. They shaped Viking beliefs about fate, honor, and the afterlife. Section 5. Life as a Viking: Warriors, Farmers, and Society. Vikings were more than just warriors. They were farmers, fishermen, traders, and craftspeople. They had a complex society with its own laws and customs. Family and kinship were important. Loyalty to one's clan was paramount. They held feasts and gatherings to celebrate their gods and their heritage. They valued courage, strength, and cunning. Women in Viking society had more rights than in many other cultures at the time. They could own property and even divorce their husbands. Section 6. The end of an era, the waning of Viking power. The Viking Age couldn't last forever. Their raids became less frequent and less successful. European kingdoms grew stronger. They built better defenses against Viking attacks. Christianity spread throughout Scandinavia. This brought new beliefs and values. It also led to the establishment of stronger kingdoms. The Vikings began to assimilate into Christian Europe. By the 12th century, the Viking Age was largely over. Their raids had ceased, but their impact on Europe and the world was undeniable. Section 7. Echoes of the North, the legacy of the Vikings. The Vikings left a lasting mark on the world. They explored new lands, established trade routes, and influenced the course of history. Their genes are still present in the populations of countries they settled. Their language evolved into the Scandinavian languages spoken today. Their mythology and stories continue to fascinate and inspire. Their art and craftsmanship are still admired for their beauty and skill. The Vikings were more than just raiders and barbarians. They were skilled navigators, explorers, traders, and craftspeople. Their story is a reminder of the power of human resilience, ingenuity, and the enduring lure of exploration. Section 8. Viking art and craftsmanship, a legacy in wood and metal. The Vikings were skilled artisans. They excelled in woodworking, metalworking, and weaving. Their art reflected their beliefs, myths, and daily lives. They decorated their ships, weapons, and household items with intricate carvings. These depicted animals, mythical creatures, and scenes from their sagas. They used materials like wood, bone, metal, and amber. Viking jewelry was particularly impressive. They crafted intricate brooches, pendants, and rings. These often featured complex knotwork patterns or depictions of animals. Section 9. Conclusion: the enduring fascination with the Vikings. The Vikings continue to fascinate us today. They were complex and multifaceted people. They were fierce warriors, skilled seafarers, and talented artisans. Their story is one of adventure, exploration, and the clash of cultures. Their legacy lives on in our language, our art, and our imaginations. We're drawn to their stories of bravery, their thirst for adventure, and their connection to the natural world. The Vikings remind us that the past is full of wonder, complexity, and enduring lessons for the present.